Hi, friends and future friends. I wanted to share the story of Iktomi and the Ducks for Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, what can I say? I struggle with accepting reality and difficult truths about people, and this is a really, really beautiful retelling of this Lakota tale by Joseph Marshall III. The book is Lakota Way, and it's amazing. And hopefully I'll be sharing more from this book because there's something for everyone, and it's useful for all human beings who have a pulse, who are alive. It's not like you have to be an indigenous person to get something out of it. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. I hope it's, if it's painful, that it's ultimately healing. And I just want to dedicate it to fellow survivors of childhood trauma. Okay, the chapter is Chapter 7, Truth. Wowicake, that which is real, the way the world is. Apologies for any mispronunciations. I'm not a native speaker of Lakota by any means. The story of the trickster's song. Iktomi's stomach was growling as he crawled out of the deserted bear's den where he had been sleeping. He woke up hungry, but that was nothing new to Iktomi. He liked to sleep more than anything, so he was hungry a lot. I can relate. Still, he wasn't too worried. He always found a way to feed himself. Though it wasn't because he was a good hunter, Iktomi was not a hunter at all. His only real skill was that he was tricky, one of the trickiest beings around. He preferred living off the work or the mistakes of others. At that, he was very good. That was the truth about Iktomi. He rubbed sleep from his eyes and looked around. It was a fine summer afternoon. The cottonwood trees' leaves were singing in the playful breeze while the grasses danced. Red-winged blackbirds added their bright call, and somewhere a meadowlark joined in. Not far away, in the shade of an oak grove, a white-tailed deer dozed in the cool shade of a plum thicket. Iktomi didn't care about such things unless they somehow meant he could be more comfortable. He didn't see anything that meant he could eat, so he set out across the prairie to look for a quick meal. The chokecherries, plums, and buffalo berries were not yet ripe, and he hadn't forgotten his stomachache from eating green berries, so he ignored them. There were fish, bullheads, in the river, but that meant he would have to catch grasshoppers for bait. He wouldn't eat fish today because grasshoppers were much too fast, too hard to catch. He rested on a hilltop after a long climb. As he sat looking out over the rolling prairies, he thought he heard laughter on the wind. Sweaty and hungry, his mood was like a blustery black cloud, and laughter was the last thing he wanted to hear. Still, he was curious and listened closely. There it was, laughter from many voices, like the sound of an annoying mosquito. Curiosity pushed aside his annoyance. Anything unusual was always good to look into, since it could mean food. Iktomi listened and started walking in the direction of the laughter. The trouble was that the prairie has low, rolling hills in every direction, and the wind can play tricks. Sometimes the laughter seemed to come from behind him, and sometimes from the left or right. After stumbling to the top of several hills, Iktomi noticed that the noise was louder, and with the laughter, he heard splashing. He knew there was a small, shallow lake nearby and decided to look there. Iktomi grinned after he came to the top of yet another hill. Opportunity seemed to be favoring him this day. There was the lake, and on it was a large flock of ducks. They were laughing and dancing on the water, splashing and having a good time. And they were so busy having fun, they didn't see Iktomi. His stomach growled louder. He hid behind a soapweed and began thinking of a plan. Iktomi was always at his best when he was driven by hunger, so thoughts flashed in his mind like lightning. With a self-satisfied smile, he sneaked down to a creek bottom and quickly gathered a large bundle of sticks. Tying them together snugly, he hoisted the bundle onto his back and set out for the lake and the ducks. From the top of the hill, he walked purposefully down, the bundle of wood on his back, and he bent beneath it as if it were a heavy load. He kept his eyes straight ahead and never once looked in the direction of the singing and dancing ducks. As he knew would happen, one of the ducks spotted Iktomi and shouted a warning. "Look out, it's Iktomi!" He was well known to the ducks, for he would eat anything. Some of the ducks took to wing, and a hush fell over the lake. Strangely, Iktomi took no notice of the anxious flock. He continued on, bent under his load of wood, seemingly in a hurry. The ducks who had fled returned to the lake. They all watched the strange sight of Iktomi bent under a bundle of wood, marching purposefully onward and ignoring them. No one, no matter who, likes to be ignored, and Iktomi was ignoring the ducks, not for a moment acknowledging that they were in the same world. He kept walking. His stomach kept growling. Soon he was past them and walking away from the lake. It was more than they could stand. "Iktomi!" one of them called out. Iktomi kept walking. "Iktomi!" they called with one voice. Iktomi paused, his eyes blinking vaguely as he glanced about. He slowly turned toward the lake and saw the ducks. Surprise registered on his face. "How?" he called out. "My friends, are you well? What are you doing?" "We are dancing, celebrating," they told him. "It's such a good day." "I am happy for you," Iktomi called back. Then, looking off, he turned to leave. The ducks didn't know what to do, nor how to act. Iktomi was not acting like Iktomi. It was too much for them. They had to know why. "Wait," they called. "What are you doing? Why are you carrying all that wood?" Iktomi wiped his brow and seemed anxious to go. "This is not wood, you see," he told them. "These are songs. For sure, they are sacred songs. I'm taking them to a celebration over there by the river." He shifted his load and started walking. "They are waiting for me. I have to get there before sunset." The ducks raised a commotion, all of them shouting, "Wait, wait, don't go yet. Sing us one of the songs so we can dance." Iktomi hesitated, thinking deeply for a moment. "No, I can't," he replied. "I have a long way to go, and they're waiting. Besides, these are sacred songs, and I don't think I should sing one to you people. I don't know you." "Don't go," they shouted. "We want to hear one of those songs." Iktomi sighed and stopped, waving his hands impatiently. "I do need to rest," he said, sitting down in the grass as his stomach rumbled again. "I've been walking since sunrise. After I catch my breath, perhaps I can sing you one song. But I don't know. These are sacred songs, and I don't know if you should hear them." The ducks raised a clamor. "No, no, we want to hear a song. Just one." They all swam to the shore, waddled onto the grass, and surrounded Iktomi, their little beady eyes pleading with him. It was very hard for Iktomi not to reach out and snatch one because they were all fat, and he knew the meat would be tender and juicy roasted over the fire. His stomach growled, and he laughed to cover the noise as he sighed and wiped his brow. Yes, yes," he muttered, "I'll sing you one song, then I must be on my way." Quacking joyously, the ducks clambered back into the water, laughing in anticipation. It wasn't often they could dance to a sacred song. Iktomi nearly drooled as he watched them, but he knew he had to play out the ruse or he would go hungry again. After a moment, he carefully untied his bundle and laid out the sticks and studied each one. He would pick up a stick, mumble and hum, shake his head, then put it down and pick up another. The ducks, of course, were curious. "What are you doing?" they asked. "I'm looking for the right song for you. I must find the one that will be good for you," he explained wisely. "Yes," said the ducks. "Pick out the right one. We will wait." Iktomi dutifully picked up one stick after another, mumbling and humming, until he found the one he wanted. It was a sturdy stick, of course, and was just right for what he had in mind. To the ducks, it was the right song. "This is the one," he announced. The ducks cheered. Their quacking was loud and annoying, but Iktomi smiled. "Now," he said, "since this is a sacred song, there is something you must do when I start singing." "Tell us," the ducks yelled. "Tell us what to do." "When I begin to sing, you must close your eyes tightly. This is a sacred song, and it has powers. I don't know what will happen if you open your eyes. I will close my eyes too, because I know how powerful these songs are. They are so powerful that I was told never to sing them with my eyes open, and others who hear them must also close their eyes. Do you understand?" Yes, we understand," they clamored. Iktomi found a soft, grassy spot and sat, holding the stick. He cleared his throat. "I must warn you," he said, "if you open your eyes while I'm singing, your eyes will turn red and stay that way. So no matter what happens, no matter what you hear, keep your eyes closed. This is a sacred song, and who knows what powers will come when I sing." "We will keep our eyes closed," they promised. Iktomi cleared his throat, closed his eyes, and bowed his head for a long moment. Then he began to sing, "Hey-ah, hey, 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 hey-ah." His voice rose and fell rhythmically, for if nothing else, Iktomi was a good singer. Perhaps that went along with being tricky. The ducks were impressed with Iktomi's fine singing voice. They closed their eyes and swam out and began to dance. Iktomi poured his heart into the song because of his stomach, of course. It was empty and growling. The ducks splashed and swayed to the song, their eyes tightly shut. Iktomi opened one eye slightly. The water was white with the splashing the ducks made. His mouth watered at the sight of so much food, but he kept singing, louder and louder. When he was certain the ducks were totally engrossed in the dance, Iktomi rose to his feet and walked along the shore, first one way and then the other. He began to dance too, so that if one of the ducks happened to open his eyes, he would see that Iktomi was dancing with them. But not one did. After several passes back and forth along the shore, so that his voice came from several directions, Iktomi waded carefully into the water. Slowly, he worked his way toward the ducks as they continued to dance and splash. Then Iktomi hefted his stick, testing its balance as he took a few practice swings, singing all the time, of course. Finally, he was in among the ducks as their fat, succulent bodies bobbed on the water in time to Iktomi's song. He danced, making loud splashing noises himself. The ducks kept on dancing, unaware of the slobbering, hungry grin on Iktomi's face. With a swift, skillful swing, Iktomi bashed one of the ducks. But there was so much splashing the others took no notice. Encouraged, he swung again. A little while later, he swung the club again and again. Soon, 7 ducks were floating dead in the water while the others continued splashing and dancing. Iktomi could already imagine the ducks roasting over a fire, and his hunger rose like a hot wind. Throwing caution aside, Iktomi flailed away, still singing. Several more ducks fell victim to his club until there was not as much splashing. A duck opened his eyes and saw Iktomi among them, and several of his fellows floating lifeless in the water. "Look out," the duck cried. Fly away, or Iktomi will kill us all." Other ducks opened their eyes to see the carnage, and in a whir of wings they fled from the hungry Iktomi. But for many of them it was too late. Iktomi's song turned into a gleeful laugh as he began to gather his booty. The remaining ducks were long over the horizon, out of his reach. But to a duck, their eyes had turned red because they had opened their eyes during Iktomi's song. To this day, their descendants have red eyes too. They can be seen now and then flying above or floating on a pond, cautiously throwing red-eyed glances right and left, always on the lookout for Iktomi. Iktomi feasted until he could eat no more, roasting ducks over the flames from the bundle of wood he had gathered as his sacred songs. Then he found a place to sleep. So, if Iktomi comes and says he has songs for you, don't close your eyes when he sings. The trouble is, who knows what form Iktomi might take when he comes to you. Okay, so I'm going to skip a little bit here. And okay, I think this is where I wanted to pick up. So there's a lot of good stuff. I'm not skipping it because it's not, worth you checking out. But it's a kind of long chapter, so I'm condensing and getting to kind of the coda to the Iktomi story that I think is really important. Okay, so we all have our truths, some easier to accept than others. The L train is always late. Prairie gumbo is bottomless after a hard rain. One brother-in-law is a geek and the other believes he's a saint. Commuting sucks. My parents hate me because I'm 16. My 16-year-old hates me because she's 16. A one-sided love affair is the pits. The Minnesota Vikings broke my heart, again. I can't live without my wife. But when all is said and done, there is only one truth that is unwavering. It has endured and will always endure because it will stand unabashedly and without apology. That truth is death. And it is the one that is avoided and most feared by American society. But it should be the standard for truth against which all others are measured, and we will find that nothing can compare with its honesty and faithfulness. Death is a taboo subject, generally speaking, consistently referred to euphemistically as the Grim Reaper, the Cold Night, or the Wages of Sin. There is rarely casual conversation among non-Indians about death or dying. Any references to it are made in hushed and apprehensive tones. A visit to any mortuary or cemetery is a confirmation of the general state of denial about death in American society. I live across the street from a cemetery, and I get what he's saying there. Funeral directors sell coffins that will protect your loved ones for ages to come. Stone or cement crypts and mausoleums are used for the same reason, to deny death as long as possible. Logically, we are at least apprehensive about anything we don't know. Most people fear death because they don't know it, or they know the wrong things about it. No matter how much we deny it or try to avoid it, death touches us sooner or later when a friend or a loved one dies. After we mourn and grieve the loss, many of us become angry at death as if it were an interloper, a thief in the night, a villain, or a killer. Death does not kill. Disease, accidents, rage, old age, stupidity, among others, are killers. Death is only part of the process of life. The truth about death is simple. It will happen. Nothing is more inevitable, no matter how vigorously we deny it or fight it. Death will come for us, regardless of how powerful, famous, rich, beautiful, influential, irreverent, or lowly we are. There is no way to fight it. We can fight to live, but we will always lose the fight with death. Thinking of death in those terms creates the illusion that it is an enemy, but it isn't our enemy. It is, when all is said and done, our truest friend. The most profound and reassuring truth about death is that it is part of life. Life begins with birth and ends with death. With no other journey you travel can you know how it will end. We begin dying the moment we are born, which means living well is dying well. That is the truest measure of any being. The final and perhaps the greatest truth about death is that it is the great equalizer. It connects all living beings to its truth. Every form of life shares with us the same journey that begins with birth and ends with death. No one being or species, not the most powerful, nor the most arrogant, nor the wisest, will ever alter that truth. Okay, so that's the final part. I think I'm going to read from the Truth chapter. So I hope you get something out of it. If you get a chance, it's worth it to check out the audiobook that's read by Joseph Marshall III of, Lakota Way, and all of his works. He's a great reader, like, of course, does it 1,000 times more justice than I can, but for some reason I couldn't find his reading of Iktomi and the Ducks anywhere. So I'm sharing my version with the world, and, definitely check his out. And before I sign off from this one, I'm probably going to read Compassion as the next one. It's one of my favorites from that book as well. But before I want to sign off, I also meant to say this at the beginning. This is not my true hair, the purple parts. They are fake. In the interest of full disclosure of truth, okay? So yeah. All right, my name's Sasha, and I'm kind of taking a very long break from doing my punk podcast because I have to make a living and have a job with no work-life balance right now. But I hope you enjoyed this, got something out of it. Feel free to leave comments, suggestions, names of people in the Baltimore area who want to teach me some Lakota, and anything else like that in comments, and you might hear more from me. I would love to really do videos of like every part of this book, do YouTube videos, because I just think it's so worth getting out into the world. And yeah, it's really helped me just kind of conceptualizing my life and trying to like plot a different path forward than where I've been.